How's everybody doing today? My name's Dylan Bloom, and I am here starting a political podcast because I have nothing better to do with my life. Alright, so who am I politically? Alright, that's an important thing for you to know. That light is super bright, but we're gonna roll with it, alright? I know it's not perfect, but first episode, I'll get it figured out, alright guys? I'll get it figured out. So, who am I politically? I am registered independent. My dad was very Republican, coming up to say the least. I was raised in a Catholic household, and currently I'm actually more agnostic than anything, I guess you'd call it, which essentially is I believe there's some sort of higher power. I have not put a specific label on that to call it God or, whatever, but so I'm not Catholic anymore, to say the least. But Catholicism is very broad, and I guess some of my beliefs, or at least my humanity and a lot of my morals come from what I learned being raised in a Catholic household. So I guess you could say I still have some of that stuff in me. As for specific political issues, I guess I will get into that when those issues arise in the news. I don't want you to hate me right now, so I'm going to keep that down a little bit right now. But as I said, I am an independent, and what that essentially means is that, as Wikipedia puts it here, I'm unaffiliated with either party. As you probably know, if you're listening to a political podcast, you probably know all this stuff already. But essentially, I don't get a vote in primaries and that kind of stuff, which kind of sucks, but I also don't have to deal with the nonsense of belonging to one party or another and constantly being judged by the other party, because that's something that I see very commonly today, and it comes from both sides. So, independent is just what I decided to be, I guess. I kind of fit that way. Some of my beliefs politically stand on the left side, some of them stand on the right. I guess most people I know would probably say I lean maybe slightly to the left. But that's probably mostly because of our current presidential situation. And, I don't hate Trump, so I'm not going to spew a bunch of hate speech about Trump. I just don't really like his integrity, I guess I would say. His policies, a lot of them are okay. I understand his motives behind a lot of them. And yeah, I just don't like the way that he acts. I don't like some of the stuff he's been accused of. And I know, he's never been proven, whatever that means these days, of anything serious. But, I mean, come on. So, why don't we hop into the podcast here? So that was opening in my beliefs. Next up, I have plastic freaking guns. And this one is a doozy to start off with. So, if you don't know, which I'm sure you do, this has been out for a while now, there is a company called, Defense Distributed? Yes. That are essentially releasing these plans. Oh, thanks, Google. These plans that are able to make these parts of guns that you need to finish off a previously plastic gun. And also, I think they have one gun where you can completely print it from start to finish, and then you just need like a metal pin or something, and then you can shoot with it. But these guns are completely untraceable. They have no serial numbers. The government doesn't know you have them. You don't have to claim them on anything. And it's all legal as of right now. Not technically, because as this first story puts it here, federal judge in Seattle has blocked the release of these blueprints for 3D printed guns from Defense Distributed. But that's not going to last. That's not a permanent solution. Obviously, this is very temporary. And this is something that needs to be escalated to a higher authority than one federal judge in Seattle. And there is a lawsuit going in against these guns from a lot of the different states, and they're suing, I think, some sort of large government entity. I can't remember off the top of my head, but this is a huge deal, and it's kind of getting swept under the rug right now with all the other stuff that's been going on in the U.S. and internationally with those other countries that have some crazy stuff going on, but not worrying about those right now. So this federal judge, as I said, blocked this, but that's not permanent. And you might say, how could this possibly be legal? And I would agree with you very much there. The Undetectable Firearms Act came out in 1988. It was updated recently, I think a couple of years ago. And this makes it illegal to manufacture, import, sell, ship, deliver, possess, transfer, or receive any firearm that is not detectable by walk-through metal detection. So these plastic guns that are being created, you can so easily walk through a metal detector and board a plane with a plastic gun. And granted, these guns right now, those fully plastic that just need like the one metal pin that you could just probably put in your wallet and put to the side and get that through and then insert it into the gun. Those types of guns only get one shot and then they're destroyed. But still, that one shot is enough to be scary when you have somebody boarding a plane. And at this point right now, we have a temporary ban on it, but that doesn't last. We need something more permanent. And actually, the reason that this is sort of legal is because, oh, look at this. Oh, look at this badass right here, dude. This guy is a freaking thug. Look at him. What a stud. But essentially, these civil rights activists are completely in the clear right now because they claim that since this stuff that they're distributing is just a 3D printer and some computer code, that computer code is protected by the First Amendment because the freedom of speech. And it's just a bunch of, I guess, not ones and zeros, but you get the idea that it's the like programming for these guns, and that's protected by currently, as it stands right now, that is protected by the First Amendment as freedom of speech. That is scary. That is something that is very scary right now. And as I said, they are called Defense Distributed. There's their logo. Wow, guys, very extensive logo there. 2 circles and 2 Ds. You're really stepping it up a notch in the marketing department. But here is their 3D printer, and scrolling down, they call these 80% receivers. And essentially, you would buy all the parts for this gun in plastic, and then this 80% receiver is what their 3D printer would print for you, and that would be the last piece that you need for these guns. And that's completely legal. Scary, scary, scary. So coming down here, there you see actually it's a beautiful device, honestly it is, but what you can do with it is not. So that is what you can use to print those 80%ers. So that was plastic freaking guns. And next up we have Trump's Twitter this week. So here we start off, this is one of my tweets. So we start off with collusion is not a crime, but that doesn't matter because there was no collusion except by crooked Hillary and the Democrats. And I mean, this is a pretty average Donald Trump tweet. We've seen way worse tweets than this. But I said, oof, you two know, Donald, maybe collusion isn't a crime outright, but what stems from it is, and that's stuff like conspiracy to commit blah, 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 and obstruction of justice, and all these accusations that have piled up against him that I'm not accusing him of, but, you know, this doesn't really help his validity, as I said. Changing his stance from there was no collusion to collusion isn't a crime doesn't help your validity, my dude. My dude. And I know he says that doesn't matter because there was no collusion, But this is more in reference to, let me switch over to this, and start closing stuff. I don't even know, or sorry, this is Giuliani, which is Trump's personal lawyer, and he's saying, I don't even know if collusion is a crime or not. I don't even know if that's a crime, colluding with Russians. Hacking is a crime. The president didn't hack. He didn't pay for the hacking. And this is, all speculative, but essentially his personal lawyer has gone from this side of there's no collusion to, well, is collusion really a crime? And I know he backs that up by saying, still saying there's no collusion, but when you lead with collusion is not a crime, you're putting up that facade, or not facade, but you're hiding behind that wall that even if, heaven forbid, Donald Trump did collude with the Russians, that we have this wall that collusion isn't actually a crime. And that does not help validity. And when you have your lawyer say this and then you back him up on Twitter as well, does not help your validity, Mr. Trump. So next up in Trump's Twitter this week, we have, I know this is a White House tweet, but if you've been paying attention to Trump's Twitter, which I constantly do, I love Trump's Twitter, honestly, I love Trump's Twitter, but he has been freaking jerking himself off left and right on Twitter. Oh, I've created so many jobs, the economy's killing it, and in this one they say the American worker is seeing more money, and I'm guessing he has to jerk himself off quite a bit, considering all the scandals there. I'm guessing Melania doesn't give him very much, if you know what I'm saying. But back to politics. We have the economy roaring, the jobs are soaring, and the American workers seeing more money for their paycheck. I thought this was going to be a bad poem, but it's not. So let's address each of these. There's a lot to unpack in this tweet. Let's address each of these claims separately. And, the first two are very true. We do have a very solid economy. Our GDP is killing it right now, which I honestly think Trump has quite a bit to do with, and I'll give him credit for that. He is advancing our economy. We were doing pretty well before he came into office, but, he hasn't sent it down right, and it's going upward. So obviously some of that has to do with him. Some people don't want to give him any credit. I know he wants to give himself all the credit, and there's some middle ground in there where he gets some of the credit, and some of it was already there to begin with when he came into office. And kind of back that up, I guess. Let me actually go into something. I don't know why I'm in here. So here's our GDP growth rate for the year. It kind of fluctuated, but we see this 4.1 right now in July, and I mean it's August now, but this was the end of July, and this is huge. That is a huge GDP growth rate, and I'm getting this from tradingeconomics.com, which I don't look through the site, but I'm assuming it's accurate because they cite down here U.S. Bureau of Economic Analytics, which sounds fancy. So I'm going to make the assumption that this is a real statistic here. I know, guys, making assumptions already. Oof. And next up we have Trump's claim that... Oh, we're still on the economy's wrong. My apologies. No. Sorry. So here I'm on the worker is seeing more money in their paycheck. So, and this is in response to, the average paycheck that you receive. You're seeing probably more money in it, which is very true. If you take a look at your paycheck, I believe it's like a 70-cent increase. Don't quote me. But also you have to factor in the fact. You have to add in the fact that inflation accounts for some of that, and our inflation rate is pretty high right now. It's at a 2.9, and in July of last year it was at 1.7. So our inflation is kind of high right now, and then you have to account for the fact that gas prices have risen an insane amount lately. and not even lately, in the last year. So if you look here, this is the most extreme cases, but even in the lowest cases, so Iowa was the lowest increase of gas prices, it's 42 cents since last year in July, and in the highest case, it's almost 70 cents increase. So in Hawaii, if you lived in Hawaii and you get that extra 70 cents on your paycheck, you're going to spend it right back in gas prices. And then at the same time, here is this graph here, and we see, oh, this is not a good graph, never mind. Let me X out of that. And next up, we have, we have this tweet from Donald Trump, which was just, that's all I can say, just, LeBron James was just interviewed by the dumbest man on television, Don Lemon. He made LeBron look smart, which isn't even easy to do. I like Mike. And Mike is in, I believe, response to Michael Jordan, who I believe was also interviewed. I didn't watch it. I should have watched that. But Don Lemon, if you don't know, is a CNN correspondent, journalist, something on CNN. Anchor. I don't know if he's an anchor. But he works for CNN, and he interviewed LeBron, and this was Donald Trump's response. And, I mean, I have this tweet that kind of blew up. It was, ha ha ha, what do you have against LeBron, dude? As you can tell, I'm a pretty laid-back guy. I like to throw some dudes at people that don't probably usually hear dudes thrown at them, you know. And in this case, it was good old Donnie boy. And, I mean, this kind of blew up, actually, 586 likes. As you can see, I like my own stuff so that my followers can see it. I guess I can undo that like now, 585. And yeah, this was kind of sad to hear Donald Trump say this. And Michael Jordan actually kind of lashed out at Donald Trump after this tweet, saying that it was kind of ridiculous, which I do agree with. And this is just kind of typical Trump, though. I mean, what else can you really expect from the guy? We've kind of all gotten used to it in America probably by now. And in other news, his Twitter page was full of a bunch of fake news tweets, as well as some tweets about Manafort and Russia and Mueller and the whole investigation and more Hillary stuff and your average Donald Trump tweets. And actually, lately, he's been really on this California wildfire thing, and I guess Donald Trump's a scientist now. I don't know where he got his Bachelor of Science, but apparently he knows that California wildfires are being magnified and made so much worse by the fact by the bad environmental laws which aren't allowing massive amounts of readily available water to be properly utilized. It is being diverted instead into the Pacific Ocean. You must also tree clear to stop fire from spreading. That is a terrible sentence. But he's saying that we should tear apart ecosystems to stop fire from spreading. And I don't know where he's getting this from. I don't know why he thinks he's a scientist or if he was told this by a scientist, but I highly doubt he had a reliable source for this. And until he comes up with a scientific paper stating the importance of deforestation to fire prevention, I'm going to go ahead and say that this is kind of a ridiculous tweet. And oh, also, he has some tweets about ICE and Democrats and, you know, the like. So that was Trump's Twitter this week, and also on the Twitter aspect of things, as you can probably tell, I do like Twitter quite a bit. But also on these, oh, thanks, Straight Right Now. Also on this side of things, we have freaking people going through Twitters of famous people celebrities, people that get hired by different entities, and people that are in political races. And starting off with a couple of baseball players. In their Twitter profiles, or sorry, not their Twitter profiles, in their tweets, they had some tweets about, I think one of them had, Trea had some homophobic slurs and some racist comments, and then Sean Newcomb had some racist comments as well, and Ryan Rolison 4 years ago or something like that commented on Obama being elected and saying that the last hope was that he'd be executed. At his speech after the election. And let's put this into context, okay? All these sound really bad. This is not something they did recently, okay? Trea Turner's tweets were from like 3 or 4 years ago, before he was even in the league. Sean Newcomb's was the same thing. And Ryan Rolison, who was just drafted this year, his were from when he was 15 years old. Now, when I was 15 years old, I didn't know my freaking pinky from my pointer finger, okay? I didn't know what I was doing when I was 15 years old. You cannot judge a guy's comment on something that he did when he was 15 years old. That's ridiculous. He's 19 now, or 20, and now he's a professional baseball player. At some point he will be, I guess. And you cannot judge him for something that he did when he was 15 years old. Okay, that's not something that we need to do. And on this subject also, we had Bigfoot Erotica. Yummy. So, we had Leslie Cockburn tweet on Sunday that, Deborah Riggleman was a white supremacist, and that he was a devotee of Bigfoot Erotica, which both charges that Riggleman denied in an interview with CNN, but who knows. This looks a lot like Bigfoot Erotica to me. This is the cover art for hashtag mating habits of Bigfoot, and it's almost complete. So we can see, obviously, Denver Riggleman's got some freaking artistic skills, and to me, this looks like Bob Ross up here. You can kind of see the beard. And obviously it's meant to be Bigfoot, but to me it looks like Bob Ross. So here we have our Bigfoot Erotica cover. And, well, obviously this is a nice little fun joke to make. The fact that Leslie Cockburn went to these links to find something anti-Denver Riggleman is just kind of ridiculous. And to include, it was in the exact same tweet that your candidate that you're running against is a white supremacist and a devotee of Bigfoot Erotica. Like, those two are on the same exact level of seriousness, is something that's absolutely ridiculous to me. And obviously the Bigfoot Erotica looks true, and yikes. Oh, here's the tweet, actually. Let's read it. My opponent, Denver Riggleman, running mate of Corey Stewart, was caught on camera campaigning with a white supremacist. Now he has been exposed as a devotee of Bigfoot Erotica. This is not what we need in Capitol Hill. Do we need people that sift through other people's Twitters this is Instagram in this case, sift deep through their Instagram to find something they did wrong, and then make a huge deal out of it? Oh, Bigfoot Erotica, because people don't have weird interests. Like, leave the guy alone. This reminds me a lot, and I included it up here, of Ken Bone. And he was the guy that asked Donald Trump, I believe, a question a while back. I believe it was about climate change, which I love that topic. I really love that topic. Let's talk more about that topic later. He asked him something about climate change or a similar topic, and everybody thought he was this incredibly intelligent guy, and that, he was like, he should be running for Congress or something, and he's just this normal dude that wanted to ask a question. So people go through his social posts from a while back, and they sift through all of his Reddit posts. And I mean, you don't go through a man's Reddit posts, alright? Anything can happen on Reddit. And they found something about Jennifer... what's her name? Let me Google it. Jennifer Lawrence, yes. So he saw... Let me make sure I'm getting this correct. Yeah, so after Jennifer Lawrence's leaked nudes, Ken Bone had commented something about one of her private parts. I'll leave that up to your imagination on which that is, unless you want to dig deeper to go find out which I mean, I'm sure it probably says on the screen right now. But this is something that you don't do. You don't go through a guy's Reddit posts. He's just this normal guy. All of a sudden he gets internet famous, and then people go through his Reddit posts and claim that he's this terrible guy because he makes one comment about liking the way Jennifer Lawrence looks naked. And that's like, it's something a normal guy would say. What do you have against the guy for saying that? So I say we leave Denver Riggleman to his Bigfoot erotica. That's my conclusion of this part of this story. So, next up, more recently, last couple of days, August 1st, I guess, that was a while back, but this just blew up in the last couple of days. We had Sarah Jeong, who is a new New York Times editor of some sort, editorial board, yeah. And she had some tweets a long time ago, some of it very bad, but from 2014, which is what, 4 years ago now? Don't even know what year it is, apparently. So, all these are very anti-Caucasian, male especially, cancel white people. There's a whole thread here. Have you ever tried to figure out all the things that white people are allowed to do that aren't cultural appropriation? There's literally nothing, like skiing maybe, also golf. Seems highly irrelevant to me. And yeah, she has a lot of these tweets. I just realized I can't stand watching because it's just, the premise of both is just white people being miserable. Wouldn't she like that though? Anyways, she has all these tweets about this from years ago, and this guy manages to dig them up. And then in this tweet, all these people update. Apparently it's not her fault. She's racist, so it's all good. And I'm not, in all of these, I should add some context. I'm not condoning all of this behavior. I don't think these tweets are good for anybody, to be honest. I don't think, at the same time, though, that we need to go digging through anybody's social posts. Why do we care that much about what they say years and years ago, okay? Everybody's kind of out to get everybody, it seems. And this is sort of proving it. Proving a good, solid point that everybody is out to get everybody else. And we need to put an end to that, guys. Leave Ken Bone alone, as H3H3 would say, okay? And her response is a pretty weak response, but she quotes a couple of tweets from, I believe, white males, more than likely, and says that she engages in what she considers counter-trolling, and it was intended as satire, and blah, 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 blah. So whether you believe that or not is up to you. But at the same time, she doesn't really deserve to be continuously ridiculed for something that she did years and years ago against these people that were honestly being pretty evil to her. I mean, if I saw you, I'd sock you right in your lesbian face. That is terrible. And then, shut the F up, you dog-eating... Not even going to say the rest of that. Oh my god. So, that's what she was dealing with at the time. So give her a little bit of sympathy. And you don't have to condone her behavior, but just see where she was coming from and understand that people make mistakes. Have you never made a mistake? You've probably made a mistake. Let's be honest. Nobody's perfect. Nobody. Nobody's perfect. And if you got famous all of a sudden, someone would be able to find those mistakes and they'd sift through your Twitter. Oh, what do we got here? Oh, yes, I can take this. I can be Twitter famous with this. Sarah Jeong, you're going down. That's everything for the podcast. Thanks so much for watching or listening if you're listening on iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you're listening. And if you're on YouTube, thank you as well. So let me know in the comments section if you're on YouTube what you thought of the podcast. This is episode 1. Did you like the style? Did you hate the fact that my microphone was in the way of my camera? Or do you even watch me in the corner down there? Are you typically looking at me, or are you looking at the content over here on this side of things? So let me know in the comment section, and let's have some discussion also. Talk to me about anything I talked about here. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? And provide me some evidence why, because I'm all about that evidence, baby. Show me the data. Or evidence, I guess. Because a lot of stuff isn't data in politics. And I ramble on.